Hey, good morning, Rick. How's it going?
Hey, good morning, Justin. Everything is great. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you for agreeing to hop on the show. As I mentioned to you, this is my little web series called Breaking Bread, and really the thesis behind it is, over the last few years when I was going through this MBA process, there were people who I identify with that were like sort of mentors to me, whether they knew it or not.
Oh, wow.
Um, And I was part of the Reardon programs at UCLA, where I believe we met at a Wells Fargo event, I believe at USC's campus.
Yeah.
But I remember you took myself and a few colleagues to brunch at Catch LA the next day. You were like, "Hey guys, like y'all see some sharp individuals. Y'all should come pull up to Catch LA." And from then on, I was like, "This dude is sharp as hell." And like I love what you were about, especially in the investment space. And we've kind of remained in contact, and you've kind of given me some guidance here and there in terms of like what direction I should be going towards. And so this is my way of saying, okay, like
Oh, man.
there's people like you there's people out you like you out there who just don't understand, like um who are not from the space, right? They don't know the investment space. And I think you come from like humble beginnings. You came from Rochester, moved out to LA, and you kind of basically took over your home thing. So with that being said, I'd like to kick it off by just you giving us a little bit about your background,
Yeah.
um, where you're from, how'd you get to LA, how'd you get into investment banking, and a little bit about what you're doing now, and we can kind of go from there.
Perfect. Yeah, as you mentioned, yeah, I'm from upstate New York, Rochester, born and raised. My whole family is still there. And I'm the oldest of six kids. So I was kind of like, my mom had me at the age of 16. And we kind of grew up together, if you will. And my mom and my dad were just hardworking people. Um, and so I benefited from that because now that I'm, older, I really realize the sacrifices that my parents made in order for us to give us a shot, right? Just to even succeed, because we didn't, like as you mentioned, we grew up with very humble beginnings. Um, trying to manage, a family at such a young age, there's no blueprint. So you know, we were all learning together, and I was kind of the guinea pig. So I was the one that took the brunt of everything, but that made me stronger. That made me appreciate my family and all of their sacrifices. So fast forward, I was a college a high school athlete. I played basketball, was really really good. But deep down inside, I always knew that there was something more um, to me than just playing a sport. And so there was this constant kind of like battle between being an athlete like internally. No one would ever know it because I would just step on the court and just, perform. But I knew that there was something more in life to to playing the sports, but I didn't know what it was. Right. I didn't have any clue. I had a friend in high school who said, we were, in 12th grade, he said, I want to be an engineer. I said, an engineer? The hell is an engineer, bro? Right? So these things were not present. They were not around, even though, I knew internally. And so fast forward, I jumped around from, school to school, playing ball, looking to get to the next level. If you want to pause, because you can hear my little man in the background. Perfect. Yeah. So I jumped around from junior college to junior college, man, playing ball, looking for the right program. End up at North Shore Community College in Massachusetts, and end up doing really well. End up first team All American, All New England, and had my hopes on going to the NBA, right? Because that was everyone's kind of ticket out. And even school was really easy for me, like just inherently easy and kind of boring, right? I picked up concepts, whether it was, um, modeling, financial, you know, accounting. It came pretty easy. Not having a strong math background, so uh, I end up transferring, finishing up at North Shore, transferring to Salem State, and played in this tournament, man. So this is now my senior year, and dropped 45 points, and it was agents in the stadium. It was like a little, like, real well known tournament in Boston. Agent signed and said, "Hey, look, man, you have a shot." And me being, young, naive, um, they said, "Let's go to Amsterdam to play in this tournament." And it just happened to be in that September. And the tournament was in June. So I went in September to go play in this tournament in Almelo, Netherlands. And the coach loved me. And it was just a click, man. And end up not going back to school in September, and playing ball professionally in Europe for 2 years. And that was kind of like the way my life worked, man. Like, just opportunities would always present themselves in the weirdest way. And I always felt blessed, man. Like, it was like my path is not traditional. Like, I don't think it ever will be. So, and I think that one of the things that stands out for me, that could stand out for other people, is that you have to be true to who you are. There's no right way, man, especially now, to get to where you want. And there's a internal kind of like compass that will guide you if you just have the capacity to listen. Because if you look at how I'm a principal in an investment banking firm, that is like crazy under the circumstances of how I got here, bro. Like, it doesn't make sense, and there's no clear path. It was just kind of like how my life maneuvered, and I'm gracious every day. I know that's a long introduction,
No,
but there's no. If you look at my resume, man, if I was to put a resume together, it would be all over the place. It is not anything that's succinct. It's not something that anyone could go by and make a judgment based upon my experience, because it is so far from what anyone could ever imagine, even myself, and even though I went through it.
that's why I resonated with your story when we all met you, and you took us out to brunch. I think, we hear people in investment banking, so we expect this like traditional path, just because like we're in this like business school aura or whatever it may be.
Yep.
And when you explain your story, like growing up in Rochester and how hard it was for you, and then you making this trek to LA and basically like grabbing it by the horns, it was just like, okay, like we could all do this. Like, this isn't
Man.
as as it makes
Yep. That's the biggest thing, and I think that's probably why my path is the way it is, man. I do believe that I am a perfect example that, man, anyone can do it, man. Like, for real. Like, there's nothing unique about me except my ability to pay attention to my truth and move in a direction that I feel is the best for me. And
Yeah, my question is like, how did you find, like, how were you able to navigate and find that truth? Like, what were there some early indications in life that you were like, I got to continue to go towards this energy? Because people get distracted. Like, I think we talked about before we even hopped on this, that
yeah,
you could one day you could just be like, whoa, like how the hell did I get in this direction? Like, how do you stay true, stay focused on, what the goal is ahead?
I think because, you know, a lot of people didn't believe in you. So you have to believe in yourself. And sometimes you have to, like, even people that care about you the most, and they don't believe that they want you to go this traditional route. And it's because they don't understand that that route is not for you.
Right.
So when you look at the people that are giving you advice at a young age, or even as you develop and you know move towards what you really want to do, you have to put things in perspective and say, hey, what have they accomplished? And that's the hard thing to do, man, because you love these people and you're not judging them, but you're saying, if it works, then why didn't they follow their own advice? Or why didn't, what went wrong? And here's a perfect example with my son. There's no way I could tell him he can do anything in life and go for it if I haven't.
Right.
And so when I'm looking at, the people I care about the most, the people that was in my corner, and they didn't go for it, it's hard for me to trust that,
Right.
even though I may respect it, right? Even though I may say, okay, it didn't work out for them, maybe whatever life sent, but let me try this. Let me go after this, and look what happened. I accomplished something that I wake up every morning, man, and be like, yo, is this real? Like, for real. It's like my my business partner, Michael Cohen. If you look at his resume, it is a traditional investment banking principal resume. Wharton grad, um, top VCs in the world he was partners at. And we're sitting on the phone, we're talking about strategy. And that, how did you build a firm? Someone from Rochester, New York. It's crazy to me, man. Now,
They don't look at Rochester, New York. If whoever's viewing this, you gotta look at Rochester, New York too, because like that gives a picture like, yo, you came from Rochester, and
it's a small town. It's
a small town.
And it's upstate New York. We often call it's 7 hours, 6 hours, depending on how fast you drive from New York City. And we often call it the Lost Borough, right? And majority of the people that I grew up, the same traditional story that you would hear in Chicago, you would hear in Detroit, you would hear in, St. Louis, the majority of people I grew up with, man, my friends are no longer here, from gun violence, from being incarcerated. And so and these kids had just as much talent as, if not more than me. And I was fortunate to kind of maneuver. And I always think, felt like I had an angel just kind of this, making sure I stayed on the right direction.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about the path from, in Rochester, now you're playing overseas, and then how did you end up getting into LA? What was it about LA that you were like, I have to go there?
Man, this is another crazy scenario. This is just this is when I tell you. So I just got back from playing ball in Europe, and there was a young lady I was dating in Rochester who was from Fresno. And she got a job in 2005 at not Wells Fargo, at the bank that had folded. It'll come to me, but she was a corporate auditor in Washington Mutual was the bank, and we had just started dating, and she said, "Hey, I got a job interview," and I wasn't doing too much in Rochester at that time in 2005, and she said, would you, if I go get the job, come out, visit. So I came out with her on the initial interview. It was in January. It was a blizzard in Rochester. When we touched down in LA, my decision was already made. If she gets this job, I'm not going back, right? so,
Blizzard.
so I said, we're gonna figure this out. And then this was the highlight moment for me because I'm a huge, anyone that knows me, I'm a huge, as most people are, a huge Kobe Bryant fan. Like he was my silent mentor. You know, he didn't I never met him, but it was his principles. And so we're driving down the 405, riding down the 405. Yeah, Kobe arms stretched out like this, and I took that as, you know, my weird self. Rick, welcome. Welcome to LA, Rick. So that's how I ended up here, and that was the best decision I made, because even though I played in Europe and I was exposed to so much in life, LA is so big and so diverse that it frees your mind to a certain degree of the possibilities, because you meet people that have very unique jobs that are crushing it, like a dog walker, right? Making six-figure, like a dog walker. Like you would just be like anywhere else, you know, Kentucky, no disrespect to Kentucky, but I don't think you can walk dogs in Kentucky and make $600,000 or, you know, six figures. But so you hear these, you know, stories, and where it all kind of changes. I go to the gym. Now, keep in mind, I can still ball, right? So I'm playing ball with some of the top A-list celebrities, just entertainers, and I'm creating this kind of like because I'm not impressed. I'm playing ball, right? So it just opened up my world. Like everyone is the same. Like there's no, like you have this idea, like, you know, like Bill Bellamy, but come to the gym, and you play with them, and it's nothing. And you sit down and you talk. And that for me was like, they lace up, they have lives, they have families, they talk about concerns. So it freed me from like whatever limiting beliefs that I had at the time. So it was never, you know, the starstruck. It was just like, yo, these people, they lace up, they have same concerns, they go home, they enjoy playing sports. And so for me, and if we're out, they acknowledge you. So it's not like, you know, if you see him out, it's not like, oh, we just see you on the court. It's like a community. And so that for me was like a game changer.
Yeah. So how did you ended up entering into like this private equity and then investment banking industry? How did that?
So I started off at New York Life in Pasadena as a registered investment advisor.
Okay.
Hated every minute of it, man. I was not a salesperson in the regards of trying to get people to buy securities, mutual funds, or life insurance, or any of that stuff. That just wasn't my cup of tea. But whenever I'm in something, I want to be the best, and I want to do really well. And so despite the discomfort, I did really well. But the majority of the people I would interact with was not like the mom and pop types of businesses. I met like real business owners. And what was shocking to me was that these guys were pretty successful, and yet they were coming to me for advice. And that was weird, because they figured it out, and I'm selling them some product or something, you know, something that they could benefit from, but it wouldn't really change the needle in their life. And so as I began to dive into it and realized a lot of them, you know, made their money through real estate and business, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to find a way to get into business.
Right.
So again, without no experience, and I go and find a coffee shop in this historical, area called Leimert Park in Los Angeles. So it's right in off of Crenshaw, so right in the heart of like kind of like the hood, if you will. But it's like the mecca. At this time, I don't know this. It's like the mecca for jazz and entertainment. And there was this bookstore that was coming there. This happened to just come to that same location. It's called Erewhon. So it's this huge migration. This was in 2006, migration into this area to kind of revitalize it and make it kind of like the home place for someone that wanted to do that, be close to the culture, close to arts. So I end up securing this. It was called Fifth Street Dick's was the name of the coffee shop, and end up, in the process of buying it, there was this gentleman that I met out, just networking, and found out that I was buying it, and he was a seasoned business owner per se, and wanted to partner with me. And one of the things, even my dad was good at this. He said, business relationships are like marriage. And if you don't trust the person, you don't see a future with the person, don't do it. And so I structured the deal. I don't even know how I knew how to structure this deal, honestly, Justin, with the owner, where I would pay. It was basically, in real estate, is what you would call an assignment. So you secure the rights to purchase this, and then you basically sell those rights to someone else to take over. Okay. So in real estate, that's like wholesaling the deal. Like you get the right and then you flip it. At the time, I didn't know that. I just said, what makes sense, right? I wanna buy this. I had a little bit of cash, but I didn't want this guy as a business partner. And in the process, I realized that, dude, if you're gonna run a coffee shop, you got to be there every day. And I didn't factor that in when I was thinking that I wanted to own a coffee shop. So what I ended up doing was flipping that to him. And so I sold it, made $5,000 off the deal, and I was happy at that point, because I'm thinking I made $5,000 and I didn't spend anything. I just maybe shuffled papers, right? And so from there, that was kind of like that's when it all clicked. And timing was everything, because now I meet a young lady named Crystal Roney. Now, Crystal is a sharp CPA who introduced me to Ron Hoddes of the business team in Torrance. And they were a small business brokerage M&A firm. Okay. And so that sequence of events, she said, Rick, this is perfect for your personality. You could definitely do this. And so she arranged a meeting with Ron. And so I'm sitting there looking in Ron's office. I'm like, wow, this dude's made it, right? And he's talking about business sales and acquisitions. He said, most people think of, Walmart, or the big deals buying, big companies buying other big companies. There's a huge market for businesses under 25 million and sales. Like, so I'm thinking like 25 million to me was like huge, like under 25 million. So I'm thinking like, that's small. So he walked me through the process, and he ran the what I didn't know, because this is my first experience, is that he ran his business brokerage firm similar to an investment banking firm. So I'm getting hands-on experience, shadowing, working on deals, analyzing deals, just as you would if you went to Goldman Sachs and they put you you're starting off as an analyst. I'm getting this type of experience. And that for me, it was no turning back. Once I found my footing and then begin to crush it, man.
So as you kind of like go up the ladder in like this private equity investment banking industry, like what do you feel like people from the outside, like what are some misconceptions that people have about like what the industry is and maybe like,
I'm gonna be,
overthinking it in a sense?
yeah. Here's the reality, Justin, man. This is the truth. This is what no one will tell you. Everyone thinks they know what they're doing and they don't.
Yeah.
Everyone's figuring it out deal by deal. And I'm not talking about your elite firms like the Goldman Sachs, the Houlihan Lokis. Those guys have great jockeys, right? They great people that can lead the deals. I'm
Mhm.
talking about this lower middle market, um, the deals that are 100 million and under. Um, anyone can play in that. Anyone can play in that league. Anyone. It, it's relationship driven.
Okay.
It's who can do the best marketing, who has done deals within that industry for relevance and for keen insight. But it's not as hard as you think.
Yeah.
That's the biggest conception, and the numbers matter, like, but what really matters is understanding how to manage expectations. I am more of a um, psychologist than anything, because during this process, like a sale or acquisition, the emotions are high and a lot of people are not thinking clearly. And a lot of times a founder or owner would do something to jeopardize the deal because they think that's what they really want. And it's so having an ear to listen, to really understand what they really want and help them not shoot themselves in the foot. Here's a perfect example, man. We were on a call Friday with this company that's raising capital, and it's a SaaS company. It's a software as a service company, and it's an amazing company. And we found a VC firm that is the perfect fit for them. They're raising 4 million. This will be their first and last round because they will um, they will IPO or get sold. So we're finishing up the call, and the the VC group firm explains to our client, the founder, some of the issues with the deal, like with where they are in the process. And they said, you guys are a little too early, but we like everything else. And if you can just get over this revenue hump, they're not pre-revenue, so they have some revenues, but they need a little bit um, more revenue. And so the owner took, here's the call went well. I mean, it was a great call. And the owner says, I almost muted him on the phone, that if we get over that revenue hump, you're not special to us anymore. And to a VC, you have to be special. They're giving you millions of dollars. I better be special to you.
Yeah.
So Mike, my partner on the call, jumped in immediately and cleaned it up and said, "Hey, look, this will be our last institutional round. But here's the things that something so small could really impact the deal. And our job is really managing that, whether it's raising capital or even on an M&A deal. So if there's one skill that you would have to master apart from the financial part, being able to do modeling, but you can always have, once you get to a point where you can have interns or analysts do that, but really learn how to manage relationships and listen, and when everyone else is chaotic, you have to be the center. You have to be the voice of reason.
That's
So oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say that's actually a very big point, because I think that a lot of people think the investment banking and private equity is like you have to be strong, analytical, strong in these different facets, and I'm sure you need a good basis of that as well. But they all get that the relationship base of it as well, that you are dealing with people.
Yep.
I appreciate.
You can't have a business if you don't have people.
Exactly.
Right. And the perfect analogy, man, is look at any sports team. Everyone has their strengths and their roles. And if you're looking for a firm, find out where you can add value if you want to get into this game. And that's what it is for me, my unique background and my ability to my emotional intelligence when it comes to dealing with people.
Right.
Is what my partner needed, because he has the technical background. Like, he is the traditional investment banker. He can analyze, and he did internal M&A for Honeywell, right? So so when you look at these components, we offset each other perfectly, because I can say, hey, Mike or Chris, hey, we missed this because they said this, but this is what I think they really meant. And sometimes when you're as into the numbers or into the data, you can miss that, where I can fall back a little bit and really hone in on the things that could be missed from the emotional side.
Right. And like kind of picking up on those like social cues and whatnot.
Exactly.
So like, how do you manage to kind of navigate in this industry that's really lacked diversity?
At first, man, it was really hard for me, because from this standpoint, I didn't take the traditional background, right?
Right.
So I didn't feel like I belonged. So I'm dealing with that, but then the reality that I'm here, right? So I'm here, so I belong.
Right.
But I didn't take the traditional path. So it was really hard, because you can even now, if you Google investment banking firms and you look at the about us and the team, it's a totally different team. And so, but after getting to a certain point and after closing a certain amount of deals from start to finish, and then you hear guys from other firms that haven't closed the deal, it becomes easy to navigate through this, because now you see it's not what you think. They're not really willing to work as hard as I'm willing to work.
Huh? So that's that Kobe mentality.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's no different in business, man. Because here's the thing, it's the same thing in sports. If you take a player that kind of went through the AAU ranks, and you went through all of the kind of like that hand holding, and they're, the Jesus of the process, they forget that there's a Jimmy Butler out there that was picked up number 30th in the draft, and he gets up every day and performs because everyone counted him out. So it's the same thing in business. If you don't continue to work and continue to build those relationships, and if you don't continue to work on your craft, then you are subject to someone like me that's never going to stop. Like, I'm just going to this because I love it, and because I know what it's done for me and my family, and I know what's possible now, man, because I can't take this for granted. I can't, because I know what the alternative is. You see? So that's the only way I can navigate through it, is because I'm blessed to be here. And I don't take that lightly. I don't think it's any, here's the thing. I don't think that it's anything that I've done personally. Like, I don't think that it was something that I say, oh, Rick, you did this to get here. I think that there is uh, a guidance, man, that if you're true to that guidance, it's not mean that you won't fail, you won't have hard times. But through that, no matter what, you'll get to the other side. And that truth and that just discernment is what allows me to continue and navigate regardless of what everyone is doing. I'm not in competition anymore with anyone. Like before, I used to look at other firms and be and think that, no, man, I'm every day I'm saying to myself, how can I better perform than I did previously? And it's me moving that bar.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I think, especially like a group of us, we're big, pretty, we're through the consortium. So it's like a big minority group that comes in, and we're here at Michigan Ross. And I think when we first got to campus, there was this like maybe imposter syndrome or whatever it may be. And you're saying here, like, there's really like we think there's a lot of people, Black people that are in MBAs, and then you get to like the greater school and you're like, okay, there's only like a select amount here.
Yep.
So imposter syndrome, we all come from these various different industries. Some people are more business savvy than others. And then you come to a point, like I think I hit this point probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, where it's like, I'm here. Like I deserve to be here. I'm at the same table, whether I might have a different role than other people may be, and they may be stronger at this class and I'm stronger at another class. But it is, to your point, like being comfortable with that and not really looking at anybody else. You have these blinders on, like, I'm just going to try and outwork you.
Yeah, you can, man. Justin, listen, if I could tell anyone anything, double down on yourself, because the whole world is telling you something different. And if you don't believe in you, no one else will. And I think that is what resonates when I walk into a room with someone. They, off my energy, they know I belong. And then I'm be honest, is that they know, even if they don't admit it, they know inherently, subconsciously, that in order for me to be in this room, I deserve to be in this room,
Right.
because I worked my ass off to get in this room.
That's facts.
Yeah.
So
they may not say it, but they look.
give you that nod. All right.
Yeah, all right, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, we'll see what's next.
So when I first met you, you were at Blue Diamond.
Diamond Capital.
Diamond Capital, yeah, Diamond Capital. Yeah. And then recently, I think you said like this year, you actually went off to start your own firm in the middle of this whole pandemic.
Yeah, man.
Has that process been like? Has your strategy changed at all? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. Here's a perfect example of when you have to listen to yourself and no one else, man. I was at Diamond maybe a year at that point. And Diamond, as you may or may not know, is a nice sized firm in Los Angeles. It's very credible. The founder is really well connected throughout Los Angeles, and he's been in the space for so long. And when one of the partners decided to leave, who I've been working with on the lion's share of my deals, I had a very tough decision to make, because he didn't, I wasn't coerced, or it wasn't, it would have had to be my decision. And there are two different personalities. One is a true, I can't say true. True is not the right word. One is the consummate salesperson and the other is very technical behind the scenes. And very smart, very knows the business in and out. And they both were required they would require two different things from me if I was to join.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I looked at was I never make a decision on where I am. I always make a decision on where I want to be, no matter how uncomfortable or comfortable it may be in that time period. I'm willing to take whatever comes with that because I know it's going to get me to where I need to be in the future. And that's where I'm more concerned with. I'm more concerned with when I'm 65, I'm 70, like, did I really do it? Did I really go for it? Did I really put it all on the table?
Right.
And if I would have stayed at Diamond, I would have played it safe. I'd have been successful, but I wouldn't have been a principal. I wouldn't be a shareholder. And so there's a lot of risks that come with that. There's no, just because I have those titles, that don't mean we're going to succeed, even though we will succeed. It doesn't mean that we will. That takes a tremendous amount of work. And building a firm in this environment takes everyone on the same page. So even though we worked on deals together, can we build a brand? Is this person going to go through the trenches with me? And will I be able to do that with him if things don't go as planned? Because you're going to have to fight through it. So I had to weigh all those options out. And in the pandemic, man. But at that time, when I made the decision in January, when I first was kind of like thinking about it in January, the pandemic didn't hit.
Okay.
But something else hit in January 26th. Kobe. So when he passed away, that to me was a moment where you say to yourself, nothing matters but each moment. And go for it. So that was part of my decision, man. Like man, listen, we buy life with time. Like, so our time is all we have. That's how we buy our life. So I'm not going to spend my time somewhere where there could be a chance or could not be a chance of principal and shareholder. I went over immediately as a principal and a shareholder. So I'm willing to do what it takes to make sure we have whatever we want to do in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
With this company.
And it kind of goes to your mantra from earlier about doubling down on yourself and continue to bet on yourself. I also I don't make decisions on where I am or where I want to be. I think that's something that a lot of us deal with, especially.
Oh man.
I made this leap to go to business school, and I had that similar mantra of like, okay, I could stay here and be comfortable and probably be pretty successful. But there was this uncomfortableness of going to business school and like pretty much, going unemployed, quote unquote.
Yeah.
A leap of faith, and you got yourself. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, man. You have to, because if you don't do it, who will?
Right.
Right. So yeah. So the pandemic didn't scare me as much because it was so uncertain, and I know enough about businesses that thrive during these times, and I've met with. Let me digress a little bit.
Okay.
Here's one of the best MBA programs for me is I get a chance to sit with some of the top business owners around, whether they're starting on the VC side, like, raising capital, or they're looking to have a successful exit. I'm interviewing them about their business, the market, what has contributed to their success, where do they see the market going. So I'm on the front line of that, man, in various industries. So going into the pandemic, it's all mindset, man. Someone has to win somewhere, and no, no matter what, there's always going to be this kind of like there's always going to be a winner, and there's always going to be someone that's trying to win.
Right.
and any in environment, whether it's a presidential election that's coming around the corner, whether there's this recovering out of this pandemic, business owners, I don't care who they are, man, if they will find a way to win. They will find a way to win. Like there's a few companies we're working with now on the M&A side, sales are down 30%. And the owner says, this is nothing. We've been around since the 80s. So you're talking about, it's like, it's all perspective at the end of the day. And you have to find a way to win. And you can be concerned, you can listen to the news and everything is going to go to hell in a handbasket, or you can kind of refocus and say, look, there's opportunities there.
Yeah.
And more opportunities than ever, man. And so that's what I'm excited about. But one of the things that the pandemic did for me, honestly, is it made me really realize how precious every moment is. So I think I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Because people, it made me value that in my health, and not just physical, mental health. Because a lot of people think of health, they think about going to the gym or eating right. No, man, mentally, because that's for me that, and especially with everything as far as race relations, as far as, man, even in Rochester, we had the similar to George Floyd issue where a young man was beat. I'm not beat, but put a bag over his head, and it happened before George Floyd. And you see this constant, like, just negativity, and if you don't control that, even you want to respect it. I'm not saying don't ignore it, but if you don't control that, it'll have you go in all different directions.
Yeah.
On whether you need to be go out and protest, I'm all for doing whatever you feel is best. But if this is my other like mantra, if it was, if it's not in line with who you really are, like really, like you, only person that know that is you. Like I can't tell you what to do or not to do. But if it's not in line with what you want to do and you think it's a good idea, or you trying to do it because I want to get likes or I want to appear to be a certain way, then don't waste your time.
Yeah.
But if you're really passionate and it's calling you, then go all in, double down. Then that's just how I feel. And I don't judge either way. Like, you do what works for you, because that's going to bring you your inner peace.
Agreed. 100% on that. And that's been part of this process as well. And I think this is why I started this little web series, is because of that. You're finding people who are basically saying like, no, I ignored the noise. I stayed on something that was true to me, even when it didn't make sense, even when I wasn't getting the quote unquote likes or the recognition and so forth. So
yep,
I can definitely attest to that.
Yep.
So as you kind of look at over your career and like some of the deals you've made, Is there one that stands out that you may have made a mistake, and maybe talk about how you bounce back from that?
Man, one of the biggest mistakes I did was with a man. So remember, I would always push the envelope. There was a time when I was um, in between Northwestern Mutual and the business team.
Okay.
So this was in 2007, 2008, right before the big kind of meltdown.
Hmm.
Me and who's a friend of mine now, Charlie Brissett, made tried to get into the development game, real estate development game, not as but as investors. And I raised money and invested in these projects that not only did we get ripped off from the developer, I had people that believed in me, trusted me with um, their retirement, their funds, um, and the hardest part was when this is like transparency on a whole nother level. When one of the young ladies died from cancer, because I made a commitment that I would personally pay them back. And one of the young ladies died before I was able to pay her back of cancer. And I remember sitting with her before when she told me she was diagnosed, and the tremendous just belief and comfort in me uh, was just, you know, be, these. Uh, I'm trying to hold it together because it was the fact that they were waiting for someone like me to help show them how to invest,
Right.
how to make their money grow.
Mm.
And when it didn't, they still didn't lose faith
Wow.
in me. And w- that never left me. And I think that is what continues to thrive and push me, because when you see that or experience that, um, I don't know how to really articulate it. It fuels you in another way,
Yeah.
because even in the loss, they didn't lose. She didn't lose how she saw me,
Right.
you know. And man, and I'm not talking about like 50,000. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. And um, I don't know if you said, how do you recover from that? I don't know if I want to.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to, because it's fuel to keep me focused on the people that trusted me before I got to this point. Because it's all bro. When I'm telling you, it was hard, and I took lumps, and there was moments where I questioned whether I even had what it took, because you got I'm learning this too.
Right.
Like, I'm learning as I'm going too. I didn't have any so-called mentors. I had to find it a way. So I don't know,
Yeah.
Justin, on whether I wanna um recover from it. I don't know if I need to. Maybe I'll talk to a therapist. But until then, I'll use that as fuel to keep the main thing the main thing.
I actually like that. I think that was amazing. I think the two things that I took from it were that, you kind of talked about the relationship based piece of it. And I think that probably played a part in it. Whereas like, you're not looking at investments as just numbers. These are people behind these investments, which obviously continue to raise the stakes, but I'm sure your attention to that relationship is what they genuinely saw, that you have a good intent. Whether or not the deal went as they wanted to, of course, they can't determine that. But at the core, you were somebody who genuinely was trying to manage their money and making the right decision. The second piece of it is, I think I always hear about like, how do you recover? How do you, bounce back, right? Because that's the question, but everybody has the same question as well, like when they have these different mistakes. But you took it as something that was not just a recovery, but you used it as a fuel. Like, it's not like I don't know if I will recover, which is actually the human thing to say when people are saying like, oh, I did recover, but at the end of the day, it's still in the back of their mind. So really,
you did. Yeah. No, yeah, that's the key. Cause I do like randomly think about it, right? Because you can't lose sight of the fact that regardless, at the end of the day, like you said, these are people who wanted to better their lives. And what I realized when things don't go as planned, it's better to just man up or woman up and take control and be decisive in your decision on how to move forward and make it right. I think a lot of times when people catch an L or things don't go as planned, they they fall and they hide and they don't man up. Or I mean, I will keep saying man up, but they don't take responsibility for it. And that is such a gift. Responsibility is such a gift when you really think about it, man. Because when you're responsible and people hold that to you, that's such that you and it, I don't even know what to say on that. You just have to take control over the situation. And I trust that when you're responsible, remember I talked about my little angel? Yeah. My little angel comes out of nowhere and makes things happen. And once you stop being responsible, the angel can't protect you.
Right. That was actually one of the lessons you taught me early on in our mentorship, call it out. It was about responsibility and accountability. It was something simple too. You were like, Justin, whenever you have like a meeting scheduled with somebody who you're trying, let's say you're trying to connect with or whatever, you were like, never reschedule. Because once you reschedule, they have this perception of you that it will never leave. And I thought about it and I was like, wow, like I never thought about that. Like I've rescheduled meetings before then and it was like, didn't think anything of it. But when people reschedule meetings on me, that level of accountability, I'm like, dang, man, like, and especially if it's the last minute, it's like you have a perception of they're not attention to detail, they don't care about your time, they're not responsible.
I agree.
But it seems like it's something that's a recurring theme, like in terms of how you go about business as well.
Yeah, Justin, it is. And the reason why is because when someone makes time for you, honor it, honor it. And I'm not saying things don't come up. I'm talking about when I got this from this kid, Inky Johnson, who played for Tennessee State and got a neck injury. And he said, my wife, my son, my family deserves the best of me. Like they deserve the best of me. And how you do anything is how you do everything. So if I'm rescheduling on you, I'm gonna reschedule on my son, I'm gonna reschedule on my wife. It's not separate. Right. It's how you're wired. So if I want to be the best husband, if I want to be the best father, then I'm going to show up every time. because I can't take, most people separate that. Oh, if I cancel this meeting, that doesn't affect anything over here. It does, man. It becomes your fiber. It becomes embedded in how you move and how you view life.
Right.
Oh, there is no big deal. It is a big deal. Like, pay attention to the details.
I agree. I agree. And since then, I've been like super keen on it.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's dope. You know what's crazy is I remember when you brought it up. Yeah, I forgot I told you that, right? And today I was struggling. My neck hurt. Yeah, as I told you, you could cut this out, but I was struggling today, man. And I don't know why I thought it was 9 o'clock. Then I saw that reschedule. I said, no, no. But here it is. Like, I didn't think of it. I saw that and it just kicked in. Like, no, he made time. Justin made time. No. So yeah, man. And man, that's crazy. What that does for me is it solidifies how it becomes a part of your fiber and you don't even know it. Because I didn't think of, like, when you said if you need, let me know. I didn't think to myself, like, it's not a big deal. He wouldn't think of it, or I didn't think about that conversation.
Right.
I just said to myself, no, man, he's important to me. This is important to me. He's important to me. He made time for me. I'm gonna just get it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's funny. Sorry, but I had to unpack that, because that's real time.
Yeah.
And I didn't think of it. Like, I want you to get that. I didn't say to myself, oh, I don't, how is he going to think of me? That wasn't even a part of it. It was, no, he made time. We gonna do this. And so,
right. And that's the switch that you flip with me too. It's like, okay, like, I got to think about it from not just from my perspective, but theirs as well. Like, they're taking time out of their day to schedule this and whatever that meeting may be. And you kind of have to be respectful of that. So, like, I truly appreciate you sharing that. So, like, as you kind of get more into your firm, Impact Capital Group, like, what do you feel, like, what's the next steps? Like, how are you guys looking at the rest of 2020 and 2021?
Man, listen, we just brought on one of the top valuation guys in Los Angeles.
Hey, congrats. That's awesome.
Yo, his resume is impeccable. He started off at Houlihan Lokey for 20 plus years, and then went to another firm, and he just joined us last week. Wow. So I'm like, it's crazy for me because of the caliber of people that we're attracting. Like, we're not going out recruiting. They're saying, hey, we're seeing what's going on over here. And our mission, the whole reason why we started Impact Capital was because we saw a need where these are companies that are making a difference, that have metrics that are not really relatable to, like, EBITDA or the financial metrics, so we got a clear understanding of how to position these companies. How are these companies really making an impact? How do you measure that, right? How do you measure the impact of, here's a perfect example, a company in India that provides sanitary women products for a market that you would never even know that there was an issue. Like, because a woman can go to the store easily and get feminine products, but in India they can't, and they're often brutally judged if they have an episode. So if a woman has that is that time of month for her, and she don't have the proper um, hygiene products, and so here's a company that um, supplies these things, and how do you measure I'm not talking about the monetary impact. I'm talking about the social impact
Right.
and um, psychological impact that they can have on that community. So these are the things that are like kind of just crazy that we're in these types of conversations.
What industries are you guys particularly looking in, or is it various?
Across the board, my soft spot is within healthcare, and but Michael and Chris's background is heavily in aerospace and defense,
Oh, wow.
heavily in very like um, some of yeah. We got to talk offline about some of the clients that Mike has worked with on the aerospace defense side, and then um, Chris as well. But yeah, it is. We are. We don't really have a particular industry. It's primarily companies that are making an impact
Okay.
in what various sector. We have companies ranging from biotech companies, drug manufacture, not drug, but delivery drug therapies, all the way to clean energy, municipal waste. So across the board. And we like it that way because what I have realized is that having a broad perspective, you can connect the dots in ways that you normally wouldn't be able to. Like when I was strictly focused on healthcare, it was kind of like very rigid, and I couldn't bring any real insight from what I may have gathered from this this municipal waste company that they're doing something like this, and it's not immediately direct, but there's fibers of it that you can connect dots and position companies in different ways because of that insight.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's dope. I appreciate you sharing that because I'm sure there'll be some people who will be interested in hearing more about your company. And so
Yeah.
good background on it. As we're kind of wrapping up this, I would love to know, first, like, what have you kind of been able to tap into during this pandemic? Anything outside of what you would normally be able to do?
Family, man.
Yeah.
My wife is so dope. Let's just be honest. Being able to um, appreciate what is required to run a household and a business,
Right.
because she runs her own business as well. Um, and never complain, man. As I kind of maneuver through, she's 100% on board. I can say, let's go move to Mars tomorrow. And and I think that's important because you have to have someone that trusts your judgment and that you're going to end up doing what's best for the family. Because when I made that leap from Diamond, which was, and anyone would say, hey, you just got there. It's only been a year, right? No, she understood. And so to answer your question, what I dived into is family. I really got clarity on where I want to be in my life and for my family. So I took this time to really develop my mind, man. Like not just reading books or listening to audio books. I'm talking about taking time out to, as they used to say, smell the roses. Because when you're driven, as I'm driven, time goes by so fast that you don't get a chance to really come up for air. And during this pandemic, it's given me a chance to come up for air, and I realized how much I needed and didn't know it because I was just plowing away, trying to get to the next level. And you get to a point where you realize that you can still do that and enjoy the process. enjoy the things in the middle, so that's what I'm learning how to do now more than ever, is to enjoy that, enjoy spending time with my family.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been doing the same too. I was back in New York spending time with a lot of my family, and
Yeah,
refreshing. And kind of, I feel like we were kind of getting to know each other.
each other, right?
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Because here's the thing with this pandemic: it slowed everything down, but it sped up other things. So it was this weird space, and if you're sitting there and you're working, but the TV's on, you're constantly being hit with all of this stuff,
Right.
and you get to a point where you says, "Look, I don't care who's in office. I don't care what people perception of us are, and um, we can make a huge impact now." I think the timing, the conversation, I think the heightened awareness is is there. There's not a better time for anyone to do whatever is on their heart, because now the environment is, people are more receptive to us, man. Even I can see it now, man. When I'm on a Zoom call, and there's like, oh yeah, we're diverse. This is a diverse call,
Yeah.
right? It's dope. I think I don't look at like, oh, it should have always been like this. That's just life, man. Things progress, change. It's happening now. We get to experience it, right?
That's facts. That's facts.
Right. So yeah, this is dope, man. I'm excited for you and this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. And so I like to kind of to end it off too by asking people, like, what's a music lyric or a movie line that you feel like you live by? What's up, little man?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rick, I tried to end it off too with like asking everybody who comes on, like, what's a favorite music lyric or a movie line that you feel like you kind of live by?
Can I give you two?
Yeah.
All right. So my first one is from Jay. Both of them are from Jay-Z.
Yes. Let's go.
Yo, stretch, finish your breakfast. Um, that's from public announcement. And that, well, you know what that means? That means, like, if you're going to start something, finish it, but don't finish it strong.
Right.
Finish your breakfast, finish your food. You started it. And then my all-time one, man. And when I first heard this, it resonated with me. And I'll edit it because a little bit, it says, "I'm far from a Harvard student, but I had to do it."
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? That's
dope. That's dope.
right. I can't even, if that line's it just the epitome of who I am, man. The epitome of who I am. There's no anyone out there that has a goal. Trust that, because you don't have, your path is so unique to you. And I think my mom told me this, or my dad. If God puts something in you to do it, then you have all the tools that it can be done. And if it wasn't put into you, then you wouldn't do it.
Right.
Like, it's really that simple. Like, if you thought about it and if it resonates with you, then you can do it. I never wanted to be an actor. Never. So it's not in me to do it.
Right.
But I always inherently knew I wanted to be in this investment banking world. I'm in my purpose.
Right. That's dope.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing the Jay.
Man.
I'm broke.
Rick excited. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's dope.
taking your time to be on this web series. I can't wait for you all to see this. This is truly special. Rick, you the man. As always.
Nah, man, you are. Appreciate you, brother. Always call me anytime. I'm always here for you.
All right.